Welcome back. It is almost time for Midco SN's coverage of the NSIC tourney. So with that, we've got some tournament talk for you today to preview tomorrow's matchups a bit. David Brown is joined by one of our expert Northern Sun analysts, Jordan Dalton. David?
Thanks, Kelly. It is water cooler talk, and of course, the topic around the water cooler is the NSIC tournament finally coming to Sioux Falls on Saturday at the Pentagon. We're going to have every Pentagon game for you right here on Midco Sports Network, but we'll start things off with the men's side of the bracket. And obviously, some very good teams in the NSIC on the men's side, but I think Northern State is kind of a cut above the rest. They have 6 more wins total than any other team. Are they an overwhelming favorite or just a favorite?
Yeah, I would definitely say, obviously, with the type of season that they've had, you would have to imagine that they are the favorites. But overwhelming would be a little bit of a strong suit, in my opinion. Obviously, Southwest Minnesota State and St. Cloud were able to beat Northern State this year, so that's obviously a positive situation. And when it comes tournament time, and it's a one-and-done situation, and you have some great scores in the NSIC. You have some guys that can go off for 40 any night. And so, if Northern comes out flat at any game, they're going to be vulnerable to lose. Obviously, if I was betting with my money, I'd probably put my money on Northern State. But again, I don't think they're so overwhelming, even though their record indicates that they've been such a dominant team this season.
Yeah, they've been dominant, but I think, like you said, there's enough talent in the conference to where you can't consider them an overwhelming favorite, but just they have sort of the combination, the best of both worlds, in my opinion. They have the old school, true post presence with Logan Doyle and Carter Evans, true fives, and then they surround them with 4 shooters, which is kind of how the modern game is played with the pace and space.
Absolutely. You want to have 5 guys in this day and age that can dribble, shoot, and pass on the offensive side of the basketball. Like you said, it's kind of uncommon to have such low post threats that they do, but all that does is it enhances their shooters on the outside, because now those guys are getting open looks because teams have to double team those low post threats. Otherwise, those guys are going to make a killing on the inside. And so they're such a dynamic offensive team. They also obviously lock up on the defensive side of the basketball too. But it's just one of those things. If you come out, you're in a new environment, you're playing at the Pentagon, you had to travel a little bit of ways. So if you're in a new environment and just shots aren't falling, things aren't necessarily going your way, we've seen this year, any team can get beat on a given night in NSIC, because there are so many teams with not only talented players, but so many teams that play hard every single night. We talked about it the other night. Guys aren't out there giving up, even if it's a 20-point game.
Right.
And so that's why I don't think Northern State can just walk out and expect to win right off the bat. They're going to have to obviously put in some work, but they haven't had any trouble with that all year long.
Right. Obviously, Northern State, the top seed in the North Division, top seed in the South, Southwest Minnesota State. They're the reigning tournament champions. Kind of quiet. They kind of struggled early, so maybe some closer than expected wins, some losses that maybe they didn't expect, but they seem to be hitting their stride. And this is obviously a veteran, battle-tested team that knows how to play in this tournament, because they brought most of their guys back from that championship team last year.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, experience is huge. And when you have guys like Brueggemann and Kirk and Moen who have been there before, done that, they kind of know what to expect coming in to the tournament time. But I also thought early on in the season, expectations were maybe a little high for them. Sure. After coming off such a great year last year, I thought they had really high expectations, kind of got brought down to reality a little bit. But as you mentioned, they've been playing phenomenal the last few games. I really think they've found their stride. I've been most impressed. Obviously, you understand what you're going to get with Ryan Brueggemann.
Right.
Player of the year last year, one of the most dynamic mid-range players in the conference. But I've been excited to see what Carter Kirk has done. He's been a presence down low. He's such a wide load down there. Eats up space, one of the best rebounders in the conference. But where he's made a lot of strides is now they can throw the ball to him down in the post. He can make 1 or 2 dribbles and get a nice jump hook and get a nice post move. And he's a lot to handle for defenses. So that's what I've really been excited to see. So you have to think their experience and their inside-out threat of Kirk and Brueggemann will obviously pay some dividends this tournament time.
Northern State and SMSU, obviously 2 teams to really look at on the men's side in the division, or in the North and the South Division respectively. But let's talk about a little bit about a new rule this year. It's no longer if you're the higher seed that you host in the first round. Augustana faced Bemidji State in round 1, and despite the fact that they had a lower seed, they hosted because they had a better conference record, and it paid dividends. Obviously, it was a tight game, pulled away in the end at the Element Center. So Augustana, again, this is a team that's coming off a national championship from 2 years ago. They still have some key guys there, but a lot of inconsistency this year. But with some battle tests and being in Sioux Falls, are the Vikings maybe a little feisty up in this tournament?
You would hope to think so. As a former Viking, obviously, you're pulling for them to have some success this year. What's been tough for the Vikings all year long is I don't think their team has had an identity, though. In years past, they've always had great shooters on the perimeter, so guys that you couldn't really leave and help because they're knockdown three-point shooters. That you've had some tough defensive players. Obviously, Casey Schilling, been two-time Defensive Player of the Year. This year, I just don't think they've ever had an identity, and that's what's created a lot of that inconsistency. You have guys that can shoot the basketball when you talk about a Steven Schaefer or John Warren from the outside, but they haven't done it on a consistent basis. You have obviously one of the best point guards in the history of Augustana with Jordan Spencer, but he's been asked to do a lot this year on the offensive side of the basketball and hasn't always been there on the defense side of the ball. And so when you have those type of inconsistencies throughout a season, that gives you the up and down season that Augie's had. With that being said, again, you still have one of the best players in this league's history in Jordan Spencer. Understanding that he's a senior, this is the last time he's going to be able to put on an Augustana uniform. How much does that mean to him? Is he able to rally the troops? Like you said, playing at home, they're going to have a great crowd at the Pentagon. So how much is that really going to play into an effect as far as them having some success in this tournament time is yet to be seen.
We'll see if that could be a potential X factor for them. Okay, we talked about Northern State and SMSU probably being the favorites. To you, is there a dark horse team among the Final Eight that can maybe win it all?
Yeah, and we talked about it. I don't know how much of a dark horse St. Cloud State is, with them being obviously number 5 in the 4 or 5 in the region here. But I really like their play. They're not a very deep team. They basically play 5, maybe 6 guys on a regular basis. But they have some guys, obviously, since the return of Gage Davis, they have 3 or 4 guys that can really light it up from the outside. And so we talk about when you're in tournament time and you have those dynamic scores, that can really shift how tournament goes. And so if I put dark horse in quotes if we had to put anybody in there. But St. Cloud is really, really an exciting team to watch. And as long as those guys don't get in foul trouble, that they're a team that can really have some success this tournament.
Yeah, I kind of like Sioux Falls as a little bit of a dark horse. When you got Trayvon Evans and Drew Giebert, 2 guys, USF's the only team in the league that has 2 top 5 scorers in Trayvon Evans and Drew Giebert. And Trayvon Evans can just jump out of the gym. Leading player of the week. Yep. He's put up a 42-point game, a 37-point game. Tournaments are designed for those individual players to go out. I think depth is a little overrated come tournament time because you're just going to ride your studs. You're going to ride your horses. Absolutely. And when Trayvon Evans and Drew Giebert have proven that they can go off for 30 or maybe even 40 points, I think that might be a difference factor. So I look at USF.
Yeah. And Trayvon Evans is a guy you don't want to see out there on the court because, again, we talked about his ability to make tough shots. He takes tough shots, but he makes a lot of tough shots. And then, like you said, they have 2 of the best top 10 scorers, obviously, in the conference. And so when you look at a team like the University of Sioux Falls, it's can they put it together on the interior? Obviously, with Telly Powell down there blocking shots, they're great in that space, but if he gets in foul trouble, if Giebert gets in foul trouble, they don't have a lot coming off the bench to kind of help those guys out. But like you said, University of Sioux Falls has just as good a shot as anybody else to get some wins. Again, playing in Sioux Falls, they'll have a lot of momentum, a lot of energy in the Pentagon with a pretty pro-USF crowd. So, hey, like I said, I wouldn't count them out, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So that's a take a look at our men's side of the NSIC tournament and water cooler talk. Kelly, back to you.
All right, great stuff. Thanks so much, guys. Remember, our Midco SN coverage of the NSIC tournament begins tomorrow. We'll have all of the men's quarterfinal games live with the pregame show beginning at 11:45 a.m. right before Northern State takes on Minnesota Duluth. Can't wait. Coming up after the break, we'll preview the women's quarterfinals in the NSIC. David and Jordan tell us what to expect on Sunday at the Pentagon. Stay right here.